Welcome back, everybody. This is another episode of Shadow Sessions Paranormal. Sorry, we've been gone for a little bit. The holiday was a little busy, some travel, family. You guys know how it is. But first episode back of 2025, we have two very special guests from one group. We have Ryan and Nick from Paranormal Theory. So give a round of applause to both of them. Thank you guys for coming on. And we're looking forward to kind of picking your brain and having some paranormal theory conversations. That was lame, I apologize.
Nah, it's okay. We've heard it before, but yeah, thanks for having us on.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, good. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Nick, you could start this off. I say this too much.
Okay.
I'm putting you on the spot.
So Ryan and I, we kind of started this about a year now. We've always had the dream to start a paranormal team or be involved with a team. We were always interested in it. So we started looking around to local teams and kind of asking questions to either join up with them or kind of get pointed in a direction of how to start. And unfortunately, we kind of got pretty much gatekeep right at the door as soon as walking in. People are saying that you don't do what we do. So we were kind of like turned off by the whole thing. So we just said, you know what, him and I will make our own team. We'll get a couple friends together and we'll go from there and see how it goes. So for like the first 3-4 months of it all, we've been firing from the hip and, hopefully trying to get everything figured out. Stuff that people don't tell you about.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah, that's cool. I know the paranormal field is awesome, but there are people that, I don't know if gatekeeping is the right word, but they are like, if you don't do it our way, then you don't get to be a part of us. It's what, Mean Girls? You can't sit with us?
Well, and Ryan, I know that you mentioned that you guys pride yourself for being authentic and showing that the paranormal is not always you go in one location and it's just going to be wild. Sometimes you investigate and stuff doesn't happen and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's I always tell people that, want to know what it's like, or, they'll be like, oh man, you're crazy and brave for doing that. 99% of the time, we're talking to nothing in a very dark room and nothing's happening. That's how it goes. I mean, we're filming for 10 to 12 hours, and we'll have an hour-long video or something, but that's from the content creation side. That's the highlights and everything.
Mm-hmm. It's I think a lot of people, especially those investigating for their first time, and they watch a bunch of bigger name paranormal YouTubers, they go into these places and they're like, oh, well, I saw so-and-so investigate here and they had a 4-hour video and it was absolutely crazy. I'll have stuff happen all night. And that's just, it's not the reality with paranormal investigating.
And a lot of those times, those channels will be in a location for multiple days.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to seem like one night. So that's how they're able to, get out those 4-hour videos and all that. It's multiple nights.
I've seen a couple situations where they're there for a couple days and they get some crazy off the wall shit. But then there's been other times where they're there for 3 hours and then they're just hey, we're just trying to crank out this video so we can put it onto YouTube and be done with it. That's not fun to me. Caleb, you can kind of attest to that. You've done a couple things where
I think it takes the fun out of it. There's the content creation part, but having the love for the paranormal and everything going on, if you're only there for a couple hours and you have to get that video out, I'd rather be there for 8 hours and have little bits and pieces here and there just for the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and some of our craziest things that's ever happened to us on camera are happening when we're not actively investigating.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times since we started doing the podcast. So when we go to locations, we'll film for YouTube, but then we'll also do like a tell-all podcast in the location. So we'll kind of talk about what happened, usually pose a couple questions at the end, but we did like the Monroe House and
FCI.
And had tons of things happen while we were filming the episode that we caught on the podcast audio.
Yeah.
Which was really, really cool. What happened at Monroe?
Whatever that chime in the kitchen and the electric fireplace, or I guess it's technically gas.
During the podcast.
Yeah, they kept something was knocking on the fireplace, and behind me in the kitchen, the REM pod was going off.
And the REM pod hadn't gone off the entire night.
I think one of the issues too that we've had is some of the really cool stuff that we experience always happens whenever like the split 60 seconds that the camera's not on, and we're like, oh shit, we got to experience it, but it's not on camera now.
Well, believe it or not, that's actually one of our best pieces of evidence that we had with Ryan getting his t-shirt pulled.
Mm-hmm.
We're literally discussing about a slam that happened almost 5 or 10 minutes prior, and we just had a camera sitting on a tripod just watching the wide angle of the room, and he happened to stand in front of it, and you just watch his shirt get picked up and dropped.
Gross.
It's like when you're actually actively filming or trying to document something, that's when it all happens, and we kind of think that we noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I swear they know. They know when you're
Oh,
filming.
they've got to. Well, because we've had like Estes sessions and stuff before too, where it's like, stop recording, camera, like no camera.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
It's been interesting. I think busy locations, Madison, Fairfield, ISS, any of the locations, like, they're going to know.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, hey, just like Olivia said, turn the camera off. We don't want to talk to you. And they're going to know. And then they're going to get really creepy and really spooky. Mm-hmm. That's what happened at when we were investigating with Connor at ISS.
It was weird.
We weren't filming anything, and it sounded like someone broke into the building.
Speaking of locations, I have a question for you guys. I guess Ryan can answer, then Nick, or vice versa. What is your personal favorite location that you guys have been to, and why? And then what's your favorite that you guys have been to together, unless you guys both have the same personal favorite?
So, Nick, you can go first, because if your favorite is my favorite, then I'll just kind of piggyback off of it.
Well, mine's a toss-up because it originally was the White Hill Mansion down by our way. But I think now it turned into the New Egypt Historic Society.
Where's that?
Think that's up by Columbus, New Jersey, so it's also down by our way.
Where are you guys located at again?
South Jersey.
Yeah, we're like 15 minutes from Philly, and on the Jersey side.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
So yours is actually New Egypt?
Yeah, just the intelligence. Like I love when things pop off, but just intelligent responses to me, like on the scientific side, is way more impressive to me.
Mm-hmm.
And mine would be the Warren Occult Museum. That was so cool to be at Ed and Lorraine's house.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually like inside having dinner and everything at their dinner table. So that was that was like a wild experience. And then just when you walk into that museum, so we had seen some of the objects before at the Paracons when they would bring them there. But when you go inside that museum, it's a completely different feeling than like anything you felt at the Paracons. And just to be around items that are that powerful, like I don't even care if you believe in like if some items can be like, have attachments and all that. something's going on in that museum that I can't explain. I was like personally attacked in there by what we think was Annabelle. So that was kind of an honor, if you ask me. But I've never had that feeling and have never had that feeling since. But I know like a lot of people throw like the demon word around, especially in like the content creation side. But to be around items that everyone kind of agrees, like, okay, there's definitely something otherworldly going on with these things. That was really cool to me.
Well, and it's funny you bring up the whole demon thing. I'm trying to figure out how I want to explain this. I mean, depending on where you sit, like religiously, like demons, angels and demons, whatever. But I think every time someone goes into a building and they're like, oh, I feel something evil. I feel something dark. I feel something oppressive. Just doesn't mean that it's automatically a demon.
No.
Correct.
Olivia and I give tours at the Fairfield County Infirmary. And all of us guides kind of have this thought that if you were kind of angry and grumpy and just kind of like a curmudgeon in life, when you pass on and you can't completely pass on and you're habitating a building, you're probably going to be grumpy and probably come off as like a something dark and angry. The funny thing, I was scrolling through TikTok before it got banned and came back. There was a content creator that was talking about all these different experiences she had at these buildings, and one of them was at Fairfield. And she's like, oh my God, there's a crawler there, and it's a demon. And I'm like, I sent it to Addie, and I was like, this chick is talking about that there's a demon at Fairfield, and we actually have paper documentation of what this crawler is. They used to call them inmates, but it was a resident of the infirmary that had some type of debilitating disease, and she crawled across the floor. She's not a demon. She's an actual person, and you're just throwing that demon term out there for clout is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I laugh because I think I know who you're talking about, but yeah, and Nick, we kind of ran into the same thing and the same stories at Penhurst, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we get it all the time. Like Penhurst to Ryan and I is probably like our paranormal home. Him and I used to work there, like doing security, acting there. So we stayed in those tunnels and those buildings for hours for, weekends for 3 months straight. We never felt anything demonic, like really malevolent in there. But also you got to come to terms with a lot of people that were there were either autistic or nonverbal. So that's how they would get attention. They would either throw something, scratch you, grab you, pull you. So something that is considered like aggressive or, like malevolent like that is, just something communicating with you. There's no actual like darkness or evil to it. And like you were saying, if you believe in like the paranormal, you kind of have that religious tie with angels and demons and everything. So you kind of have to believe in a little bit of everything. But you're going to find a true demon, maybe like 1%. It would be the luckiest thing if you ever do. I mean, lucky but unlucky.
I feel like most investigators are never going to come across something demonic.
Correct.
Have you guys done the Monroe House?
No.
So Caleb and I have done that. I myself have done it 5 times. It's a little old house in Hartford City, Indiana. It's super cheap. It's like $175. And you get it from like 4 or 5 to like 8 a.m. And they call it the Monroe Demon House. And I mean, I've been there, like I said, 5 times, and every time is different, but there's not a demon there. There could be something really, really angry there, but just like you said, if you believe in the paranormal, you kind of have to believe in something not necessarily spiritual, but you could kind of believe in like the angels and demons type of thing. Why would a demon, with how powerful they are, be habitating some random house in Hartford City, Indiana? And just that house.
And,
Well,
and Nick can kind of attest to it because Nick's had an experience with, I think, and what he would say is something demonic in his past. But the War Museum was like the first time that I've personally felt it, and I can tell everybody that when you come across it, like something truly demonic, you will know. There's no question.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna know. And
Go ahead.
yeah, no, I was just saying, like, I don't even know like how to explain it. Because Wade from Nesper was saying that I got like piggybacked, he called it. And that's basically, I know Ed and Lorraine would always talk about it. He said is where they kind of latch onto you in the moment and put you in like a state of like confusion.
Almost
and it was, yeah, go ahead.
Connect with it is more like draining. So they're constantly like, it's almost like the Dementor from like Harry Potter.
Okay.
They're sucking that energy from you. And the reason why I use that, because you can't really visualize something if you never really experienced it. So having that, you just feel all your energy getting sucked out of you, and you almost go into like a tunnel vision. Because that's kind of like what I was watching Ryan. Because he started to get almost like hyperventilating almost, and he had his head down and he started like bull charging towards the door to get out. And it was weird because he like had blinders on. He had no clue, but he just straight out the door. And and that's it. And then you literally watched him go like pale white. And as soon as he walked outside and was able to breathe and kind of like open up, his color started returning back to him. He was starting to form like whole sentences again and everything. So that fogginess in his mind, I believe, was starting to go away. You can even notice it in his face.
And I don't even remember like walking out of that place. I lost like a good like 30 seconds of time. And then what's weird is like even in the video, and I've had it mentioned to me by people who know me, they're like, you don't look like yourself like in that video. Like my eyes were different and like my whole like facial structure. It was weird, dude.
I've heard, or like I've seen certain videos where people say that like, oh, their eyes are different or their face looks different. And I think it was Sam and Colby when they were doing the Farrar school or whatever school they just bought. I don't put too much stake into them. But the eyes did look weird when they said that he got possessed. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But I have heard that before. But Ryan, if you feel comfortable, do you want to kind of elaborate a little bit more that process and kind of like how you felt? I know you said you lost like 30 seconds, but I'd be curious if you like what you were doing, the kind of leading up to it, and then kind of how you felt after. If you feel comfortable talking about it.
It was the first time we walked into the museum because we were doing a Facebook Live for Nesper, and they had us, doing their podcast kind of like this, but like on location. And then they were like, all right, like you guys go like down to the museum and we'll tape it live and like, kind of get your first, experiences walking through. So I think I made Nick open the door because I'm like, all right, you first. So we opened the door, and from the outside to the inside almost felt like you're in two different worlds. It's super hard to explain. You walk in and you feel like everything's just watching you, and they're kind of like measuring you up a little bit. Like, all right, what's this person about? Where their weakness is. Like, that's kind of the vibe that I got off of it. So you're walking around, and the room is only I think it's like an 18 by 18 square foot room. It's not big. So I saw Annabelle, walked up to Annabelle, and I kind of like looked at her for like 2 seconds, turned my back, And in the live, I say out loud, I'm like, I feel like something like is like strangling me. I'm like, I just have this pressure around my throat. I took about 3 more steps, and I'm standing in front of the Sandy Hook satanic idol. And Wade was like, "How do you feel here?" And I'm like, it feels heavy. And then I don't remember walking out of the museum, but in the video, you can see me kind of like keel over, and I'm like, dude, this is heavy. And then Wade's saying something, and then you just see me like walk outside, and he's like, "Oh, that's so good you walked outside," or whatever. Don't remember him saying that. And then I almost fall over when I get outside, and like he sits me down, and they actually like had to like bless me, like holy water, like back of the neck and everything. Wow. And you know, Dan of Nesper is asking the live to Nick. He's like, "Has this ever happened?" And Nick's like, "I've never seen him like that before." And then I kind of like came back to, and I realized I was outside, and I remember, he put his hand, which was like soaked in holy water, like on my chest, and it almost like felt like my chest opened up so I could breathe again. And I drank the holy water. I kid you not, it burned.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like I had like strep throat or something, and you go to drink, you know what I mean? Like that like burning, like something stuck in your throat feeling. They gave me a blessed item, and then I was able to kind of like get my gears back in. But it was, the last thing I remember was like almost like I felt tingly in my hands and feet, and then I felt all like the blood just drop out of my head. And I'm like, I'm going to pass out kind of feeling. And it was just like tunneled. It was like,
that's wild.
For no reason. I mean, there is a reason, but it wasn't, and I even said like, I have like anxiety, and like I take medicine for it. Like I have panic attacks. That was not a panic attack. I know what they feel like. I get the physical symptoms from them. It was not the same thing. It was different. It's so hard to explain if you haven't experienced it.
So that's wild. Like talking about how you've seen some of the items at like MadCon and Paracon. Outside is a different world. When you see everything in one small confined space like that, the amount of power and energy that could just have that effect, it's wild.
And it's interesting is because where this all happened to him, Matt, was on the left side of the museum, which is where all the strongest artifacts are at. Like, Annabelle's in the back left-hand corner. He looked at her, turned his back, walked past the fire doll, walked past the shadow doll, walked in front of the one little dinosaur that supposedly, set the what was that, right? That like killed that whole family.
No, that was the Devil Made Me Do It dinosaur.
That one.
And they saw it like move across the floor, and it was saying like everyone's going to die or something like that.
But then you have Satan there and the shadow doll all within that corner where he walked, and it was just like strong figure, and then that was it.
That's wild.
It's like walking through a veil almost.
Yeah.
What's beyond that side?
It's weird. It's weird, man.
Felt like walking into the place. It felt like spider webs. Like you walk through and you felt it just kind of like wash over you.
I feel like there are certain buildings that you can go into that you kind of feel that way, where you're kind of entering a different type of area, or not area, but like a different layer realm. Thank you.
I feel that way with ISS.
Yeah.
And Madison at times.
In Fairfield at times. I've been to Fairfield 60 times at least, and every time I walk in, it's different. Sometimes I'm like, I can walk through the whole building by myself, no problem, lights off, nothing. And then sometimes I walk into the building and I'm like, I'm going to go wait outside until the team that I'm checking in gets there, and I'll do my whole sweep when
Yeah, and I always tell people pay attention to that feeling because there's a reason you're feeling
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Like that's instilled into you from like cavemen days, like just straight up survival instinct.
What do you guys think that is? Other than just like pure survival instinct, do you think that your subconscious is identifying that there's a possible threat or something? I'll use the word evil or unnatural that your body is like, you should probably stay away. Like, what do you guys think?
So our brain and body are hardwired to what? To survive.
Mhm.
Even through like, if like medical things happen, like blood will go to like these organs to like keep you alive, even though like this isn't working and all that. So the body and mind are, they're hardwired to survive. And I think when we come in contact with these other energies that are different than our natural energy we give off, I feel like that is almost that fight or flight instinct of that adrenaline rush. Because if you notice, like you're in these locations, you'll start to like your vision will become better, your hearing will become better, your senses, and your body's doing that on purpose. So I think that's what it is, even just from a scientific standpoint of like there's a reason you are feeling this.
Interesting. I've thought about it that way, but I've never really thought about it that way. And I was just kind of thinking just now, sounds are vibrations.
Mhm.
And when you're hearing something, I'm trying to figure out how I want to explain it. Someone else talk about something, and I'll see if I can figure out how to put it together.
But I mean, like, that's even like me when I go into some of these places because of some things that I've ran into in my past, even before we started investigating. I've always had that constant like dread. So I normally don't feel it anymore because I'm so used to having it. And I've walked into some places that, I mean, I've gotten stopped right in the doorway. I'm just like, no, there's something nasty in there, guys. I'm like, I don't know what you guys want to do, but I am not messing in there. And the one location, I want to say we were actually at Penhurst, and it was on the second floor, and I felt it. But I'm like, let's go in and see what happens. And actually, Ryan's sister actually got really sick. She actually had to run out of the building. She got real nauseous.
No, she didn't. Remember, she didn't run out. She got scared halfway down the stairs because she was alone and it was dark. Remember, and then she comes back up.
Which is worse, has seeing something spooky or trying to navigate the building by yourself?
I mean, we spend a lot of our investigation by ourselves, so we're kind of getting used to being by ourselves. It's still creepy, but we've definitely grown a lot since when we started. Because if you were like, a year ago, like, oh, you're going to spend like an hour, in this whole building, like by yourself, I'd be like, I don't know about all that. Now I'm like, I don't care if the camera's running. I don't care what happens. I just want to capture it for content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is wild to see the progress. Like when people start out, it's like, hey, walk over to that other room real quick. It could be attached. They're like, no, I'm good. And then slowly you just keep doing it more and more, and you're like, down the hallway. Okay, I can go down to the next floor.
Mhm.
Perfect example is we have a friend. His name's Tyler. He's investigated like this a couple times, and we love him. He would refuse to do anything by himself. Absolutely not. He's like, you guys are fucking crazy. I'm not doing that. And we were at Madison, and he went up into the attic on the Civil War side by himself for like 5 minutes. Now, he said that he just walked right up, grabbed our fent box, and walked right back down. But he did it by himself. And that's his third or fourth time that he's investigated with us. So I think he's getting more and more comfortable. But he's still like, not doing that. Yeah. Olivia was hiding in a closet.
Yeah, this is coming from the same guy. The same night we played hide and seek at Madison, and I was hiding in a very small room, and nobody could find me, and I made a noise, and Tyler heard me and was like this close to the door, right outside the door. I'm confined like a pretzel. I was the most sore I had been for weeks, if not months, from being confined for like 45 minutes. He stood outside the door for like 20, 30, 35 minutes and refused to open it to find me because he was scared it would be a ghost. Like, okay, if it's a ghost, cool, you're in a haunted building. It's either a ghost or it's me. Either way, neither's going to hurt you. Just open the damn door.
Well, that's like
But then
Ryan.
he goes up to the attic later on in the night, and I'm like, but you can't open a door. Tyler, we love you, but...
Well, Ryan and them, they locked me in the body cooler at old hospital in College Hill.
It's comfortable in there.
It really was.
about fell asleep.
Me too.
It's comfy. Like, very, very surprisingly, it's very comfortable.
Oddly enough, I think that's the safest area in that building.
Mm-hmm.
What's your guys' thought on Old Hospital?
I liked it. I think it's very residual.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, just like any other residual haunt, you have to be in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really capture too much until we were about to leave, and we're in the break room, and we're doing our outro for our video, and the door handle just like opens, and we're like, "What the hell was that?" And Nick turns around.
Yep.
It's I think it's on the second floor.
Yeah.
It's like the only heated room. And Nick's kind of standing next to the door, and the door handle just moves, and he's like, "Dude, the door handle just moved."
Old Hospital was, I think, the only place that Caleb and I have ever darted. So we were, what floor is that? The fourth? Is it?
I think it's
fourth? Three. What's the top?
We weren't on the fourth.
You were filming B-roll.
Yeah. So
top would
for
be
reference,
fourth floor.
I have my photography camera, our filming video camera, and my phone for 3 different types of content. My hands are full. I'm wrapped up in a blanket.
It's a brand
cold
new
as
camera,
shit.
by the way.
These guys are like, oh, go film it by yourself. You're fine. I'm like, no, Caleb, you'll come with me. Caleb doesn't ever really get scared, and if something does scare him, then you know, like, oh shit, you're fucked, essentially. So we hear this, like, we're in the hallway on the opposite end of where the OR is, and it was like knocks or something. It was this weird noise, and we looked at each other, and Caleb looked at me. He's like, dude, I don't know. And I was like, okay, great. So I turn, and it sounds like there were wind chimes outside, but this was something different. It sounded like almost like, yeah, it was in one of the rooms. It sounded like a machine turning on, like a do-do-do-do-do. It was so weird. But immediately after, it was just like, and he looked at me, and before I could even say anything, he booked it. But he booked it. He booked it past the staircase, and I'm like, where are you going? He's like, go downstairs. Go. And we come running down, and Bravin and our 2 friends that we invited are like, and I'm like, I wasn't even filming, but it was like flight or fight. Like, we were like, go.
He left you to the wolves on that one.
Look, I know she's a trained fighter. If she can't handle it, then I will go in after she's already done damage.
It's survival of the fittest at that point.
You guys are gonna leave
faster.
The baby and the only girl in the group all by herself.
Yes.
Yes.
Old Hospital. That was Caleb and I have been twice in 2024, and it's tied with Madison as probably one of the most active places that I've ever been. And the first time that we were there, it was constant activity from the moment we walked in to the moment we left. And I'm not talking like, oh, we heard some taps or some knocks. We were hearing full conversation, doors slamming. I got touched. Caleb got touched. I mean, it was insane. And then the second time wasn't, in my opinion, wasn't quite as active, but it was either almost completely at or just slightly below. Probably some of the most intelligent Estes I've ever seen.
Did you stay on property?
We did. We stayed in Dr. Conley's.
which
Okay.
I got 0 sleep for because they put me in. Our friend Vanessa went, so the only 2 girls. They put us, unbeknownst to us, in Conley's room, who hated women in there. So I texted Bravin at like 3:30, 4 in the morning. Because have you been in Dr. Conley's house before?
Not his house. We stayed in the nurse's cottage. Yeah.
Okay. So the second floor is like you go up the stairs, and one way is Conley's
gorgeous, by the
room,
way.
and there's like a bathroom in the middle, and then bedrooms on the other end. So I kept on hearing this like just on the floor. So I'm like, I don't want to get up. Vanessa's asleep. I text Brad and I'm like, dude, are you guys like all going to the bathroom together? Like, what is going on? No response. So finally, I like get the courage. I walk up to the door. I fling the door open. No one. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm crazy. So I shut the door. As soon as I shut the door, the closet right next to me just. I open the closet. Nothing inside. Like, not even a hang. Like, no object. No anything. So now Vanessa's awake, and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, listen. And it's just out in the hall. And so we lay down, and we're like, all right, whatever. The ghosts are walking. Let's go to sleep. What's the thing that it's connected to? In Conley's room.
The servants' quarters.
Yeah. So there's another door that has a staircase that goes to, you said servant quarters?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It connects. So we still hear in the hallway. I'm trying to drown that out, and then all of a sudden you just hear from the other door. And we look at each other and we're like, great. The guys are sound asleep right now.
Oh, we were out.
Slept great.
But it was
like a 9-hour drive for us. And it takes longer because people got to pee and stop for
and we
food,
complained about
drinks.
like 4 hours.
So we arrived there. I don't even think at that point we got to put our stuff into the nurse's house yet. The owners show up, who are awesome, by the way.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
And we get like a tour of the hospital, and I also filmed like Tanya like an intro kind of thing of like her talking about like the experiences and all that kind of stuff. So we've been up at for 15 hours at this point, traveling and all that. And Nick got the biggest room, and then one of our ex-teammates, who was a woman, had another room. And in the nurse's house, there's only 2 bedrooms, but there's a couch. And I was like, all right, I'll sleep on the couch. So I hear Nick close his door. He's snoring. So I'm like, all right, Nick's out. I hear our teammate on the phone at that time, and I'm trying to fall asleep, and I hear her get off the phone, and now I hear her snoring. So I'm like, cool, I'm the only one awake. So I'm on this little couch with my blanket like covering my head because I've heard about how haunted this house is. And all of a sudden I hear the closet door like shh, shh, shh. And I remember sitting up. I was so tired, and I'm like, listen, do what you got to do. Just don't touch me. And I just like curled back up into a ball and just fell asleep and all that. But I would hear like footsteps and everything in that house. And of course I'm the only one awake, and I'm like, cool. And then I had an experience when I'm taking a shower, like naked and afraid shit.
That's sacred space.
Yeah.
So fuck with me while I'm in the shower.
I'm showering, like, whatever. And, I go to reach for my towel, and I put my hand on it, and from the other side, like looped over, I feel like someone's holding it.
Oh.
Like, I'm not kidding. And I'm like, yo, like, I remember like saying out loud, I'm like, I'm naked. Don't do this to me right now. Like, if I fall and slip on the floor and then I need help or something, like
no one wants to be in that position.
That was like Nick at the Hinsdale house when he had to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
have
we call
the
that
bathroom inside of Madison?
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That is, you can never take a spooky dookie, take a pee. You can never do anything in peace. It's
nope.
What happened at the Hinsdale house?
Nothing happened to him when he was using the bathroom. It's just funny because like we call it spooky dookie. I've only
That's
ever
what we
taken
call it.
I've only ever taken one, and that was at Hillview Manor. But Nick's like every location. I think it's just like his thing. He
It's
just wants to
Olivia.
try out every toilet.
Don't call me
I
out.
want to try out every toilet in haunted location. But at the Hinsdale house, the bathroom is attached to the basement.
Yes.
It's
And
creepy.
we were told before we left, like, people will be using the bathroom and then the door to the basement will just start to, like, open or something. And I can
That's
just
when you
imagine,
reach
like,
up your foot and just
yeah,
hold it shut.
no, not right now.
Oh.
It's so
That's
funny.
like the bathroom that was at the jury room bar. It's the
Yeah,
basement
the stairs
is
right there.
in the men's bathroom. The door to the basement.
It's really funny that you bring up Old Hospital. Well, not funny that you bring it up, but when we stayed, so we investigated the hospital, and then we stayed in Dr. Conley's house. The synagogue
Mhm.
is 10 feet off the back of Dr. Conley's house, and they think that that's where most of the haunting is coming from. So they own that building as well, and it is
Ominous.
fucking spooky.
Mhm.
You walk out the back door, and you just see Jewish characters, and it's right there. All the windows are blown out. It's boarded up. We took like a peek inside, and it looks spooky. I told him, I was like, hey, if you ever let anyone investigate it, let us know. We'll come down, and I'll see what type of Jewish spookiness we can.
Jewish spooky. That was like the one building, the nurses' school that they're trying to fix up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I flew
It would
our
be so
drone
cool if they
into
could
it.
get all of that.
You said you
Yeah.
flew the drone into it?
Yeah, like the top window was open. So when we
Oh,
had when we had the
sweet.
drone out, I was able to fit the drone into the top window, and yeah, it's creepy in there.
Mhm.
You need to do that.
I don't
Ew.
suggest it if you crash it and you're kind of beat.
That's how you lose it.
Yeah.
We did it in December,
Mm-hmm.
and we showed up at 5:30,
Mm-hmm.
and it was dark already.
Yeah.
That's
It
the
was-
only problem with winter locations.
So what?
That's the only problem with winter locations
Mm-hmm.
is that it's so dark so early, so you can't get a lot of your good drone shots in.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about you sleeping on the couch and like pulling your blanket over. It reminded me, Caleb and I and a group of friends did Pinemont Manor down in Illinois, and we were the first team to actually stay overnight. All these other teams kept getting like run out of the building, leaving all their stuff, and I'm like, it's a 5-hour drive, so we're not going to leave. So we locked ourselves in the nurses' station.
I thought it was a library. I don't know what this little room was.
It was a small little room. It was the only room that had a door because there's no power, there's no running water, there's no nothing, and there's raccoons everywhere. So it was the one room that we could kind of like block off, and I'm sleeping with like my head to the door here, and Caleb is laying. Was your head towards mine?
My feet were by here.
Yeah, so we're kind of like in like an L. And 5 a.m, we hear someone rustling through all of our gear, rustling through the food, and I kind of like look over and I see the outline of someone wearing a cowboy hat standing in the doorway, and I'm like, not my fucking problem. And right back to sleep. Right back to sleep. Like, I'm not
I thought you were gonna say it was like a raccoon with its little hands, like, like give me
honestly, that probably would have been even creepier
Mm-hmm.
because you're expecting to see a person almost, but to see a little raccoon just staring at you, like, damn.
One day I'm gonna domesticate a raccoon. That's
Oh,
my goal.
absolutely.
You can do that in Ohio.
I want to do that to a skunk. Like, get like the spray glands and stuff removed. They are so cute.
So I was thinking about
We've had our
this.
share.
what is your guys' favorite investigation, like, technique, method, or like what's something, if you're not getting a whole lot of activity, what's your guys' go-to? Because like for us, we put Caleb under Estes.
Mhm.
Without a doubt, shit gets stupid. We don't know what it is, but like, what do you guys go to?
I
If
mean,
there is anything.
so if Nick and I aren't really getting too much, we'll try to split up to see like if it's more of kind of are they just intimidated by multiple people in a room. But then Nick will also agree with this. For some reason, Spirit Talker.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. Our phones are on airplane mode or whatever, but that thing has told us some of the craziest stuff that it had no business knowing, that I didn't even think it could say. I know people are kind of like iffy about phone apps, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. Like what kind
Yeah.
of crazy stuff?
So we were at a location. We were the second team to investigate it, and it told me about one of the girls. She took her own life on property, and I had no clue because I wasn't involved in the history tour. It said her name for one. It told me Ginger, and later on, it told me meet you in the trees, and that's actually where they found her body. Is she was propped up against a tree.
Jeez.
Wow.
But yet again, it was one of those things that Ryan and I have done, like the Hinsdale house. There's trees around. I mean, I've done Echo Woods. Places that had trees, forests, and everything. I've never got that anywhere else. So, being a random word generator that Spirit Talker is, I would at least get that maybe once or twice again, but I've never seen it again.
I think it means it's different when it's at a location that the trees are specific.
Mhm.
That makes it even more weird. I'm not a huge fan of the phone apps. We'll use them every once in a while, but we're not specifically running them every single time. But that's in meet you in the trees, and they found her in the trees.
Mhm.
That's weird.
And
Well,
I have a whole thing about like the, I guess, skepticism of the phone app. So especially Spirit Talker, right? It's a word generator.
Mhm.
Now it costs $5 to get it, but people use the Ovilus all the time, which is a $500-$600 device. It's the exact same thing. It works the exact same way. So I always said it was more of the price kind of thing that I guess sways people's opinions about it. But if you think about it, if a spirit can use an Ovilus, then I'm pretty sure it can use a cell phone because it has come across a cell phone before.
Similar
Everyone
technology.
has one.
Yeah.
That's
I
kind of
can
my
see
theory
that.
with like the Ouija board. A lot of people have this. It's ominous. I can't use it. I won't touch it.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'll use, the SB7. I'll use the Ovilus.
Mhm.
That's just an electronic version.
You're still
Of the Ouija
communicating
board.
with spirits.
You're the direct link that is using you as the antenna. That'd be you on a planchette.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's
you're
more of like
wearing a Ouija
that's
board
Hollywood's
tape
problem though. Like
Yep.
Hollywood made the Ouija board scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it also plays into the intent. Because if you go in with ill intent,
You're gonna get it.
you're going to get it. But if you go in with an open mind, and that's something that I know when I'm checking a team in or giving a tour, they're like, oh, I don't believe in anything spooky. I've been here 6 times, nothing ever happens. Go in with an open mind, and I'm not saying like open yourself up to be like, hey, come follow me home, that type of thing. It's open yourself up to the experience and see what happens.
Mhm.
Well, and that's kind of, we said this, especially as of late. We've noticed that even if we're having like a good time, like laughing and like joking around and messing around, things start ramping up. So, like you said, with having like the intention, I think if they realize that you have good intentions, that you really are there trying to learn and actually generally get to them, they'll actually interact with you more compared to if you're just trying to debunk something or if you're trying to prove somebody wrong, saying like, "Oh, this place is not demonic" or "This place is fake." I'm here and that's my purpose of why I'm here. They're either gonna like be aggressive towards you or just not at all. Nothing's gonna happen. So they're like, well, if we don't do anything, they're not gonna come back, and that's what we want. So I think that intention plays into it.
Yeah.
One of the guys that he actually got me into ghost hunting the way I do now, he is always talking about how can we tell their story. So when we're doing a session, it's like, hey, how can we tell your story? We're friendly. We're a group of friends. We'd love to interact with you. And we tend to get more stuff. I mean, you catch more with honey than you do with vinegar type of thing.
And
So, good.
it's interesting that when you do say and like actually kind of relate to them in a way, they do, interact with you a lot more. Like we went to a location, they were talking about, they escaped the place. They went and got a TV and everything just so they could watch TV. So it's just like, we were bringing that into it, like, oh, what were you guys trying to watch or what were you watching? We were just getting interactions like that. We're like, oh, were you trying to watch sports? Hit the cat ball, or you were trying to watch, like country westerns, hit this, and it was just like interesting to watch how they, interacted with that more compared to like, hey, is there anybody here? Hit the bell,
Yeah. I think it's nice too when you ask like more personal and like genuine, respectful questions instead of like, who are we talking to? Oh, are you so and so? Well, how did you die? Like right off the bat. Because it's like, okay, everyone goes in and asks these questions, and it's like maybe they're sick of it. Maybe they don't want to talk about it. Like, they just get to know that they're there and have like a genuine like conversation. But I also think that when people go in, there are some people that'll go in and like antagonize the spirits, especially if they were like a patient or maybe
like an inmate at a jail or something.
Yeah, things like that. People are going to be like, well, what were you here for? Well, why did you do that? And stuff like that. Or I've seen people at Madison, is it doctor that they don't like to be called? I always mix it up.
Yeah.
It's doctor. They're like, oh, you don't want to be called doctor? Well, you're just a stupid doctor. Like, I've watched people do this at Madison. And I'm like, what are you trying to get out of this? Like, do you want to communicate with them or do you want to piss them off?
That's either why they're getting nothing or they're getting attacked.
I think that's exactly what you said. It's, do you want to communicate with or communicate to?
Yeah.
And I think going in with that intention is like, hey, we're just here to talk with you. You'll get more responses than, hey, we're here to talk to you. Because they're like, we don't care. We don't want to listen. Have that response.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to pivot again just a little bit. And I'm curious, what would be your guys' dream location? I know that you guys told us that you're going to a super cool location before we started recording. We won't talk about that. But any location, where would you guys want to go?
Well, when does this podcast come out?
Not for a couple weeks.
Probably like mid-February.
Then we can talk about it.
February or March. Okay.
Yeah, our video will be out by then.
Go for it.
All right, so the location that we are going to is we got exclusive access for the first time, I think, in over a year. They haven't had anyone privately come in. The Crescent Sanatorium and Prison.
Hell yeah.
In Pennsylvania. So we will. Nick might be locked up in a chapel. I'm not sure yet.
That'll be great.
with the crawler. But yeah, so that's gonna be a really cool experience. We leave tomorrow, and then we'll be up there all Sunday. But
so you guys are doing it soon.
Yeah, like we leave tomorrow for our hotel, and then we'll be filming Sunday night.
Awesome. Right on, man. That would be awesome. So is that like a bucket list location?
Oh yeah,
Where you've
definitely
always wanted to
for
go?
yeah. For me, it's definitely a bucket list location. But my dream location would probably be the Goldfield Hotel.
Okay. What about you, Nick?
Uh, Mine would probably be the Garnett House.
I'm not familiar with
Where's
them.
that at?
In Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas.
Okay.
So it's around with the Sally House and
Whiteface.
Whiteface. Yep.
Is it in the same town?
Roughly.
I think they're all close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're all like within like 2 hours. But the Garnett House is like they call it like the Demon House, basically.
Have you guys done the Sally House?
No, we have not been to Kansas yet.
Mm-mm.
Well, if you guys want to do our trip, let us know.
I've
We'll
been-
do a fun time at the Sally House.
Mhm.
I've been kind of nagging on Nick to let us go out to Kansas, so maybe we'll get it done this year.
We've also been
Yeah.
wanting to go.
Going out to
Like,
Kansas,
west.
I'm going to do 3 investigations at a time when we're out there, just so I can
Make it worth it.
Mhm.
because we're going to have to fly together.
We're planning a trip overseas in August.
Mhm.
And we have we're doing the Ram Inn,
Ooh,
and it's called Kelvin and Hatch. It's not like a super popular location, but it's a old Cold War nuclear bunker. It's 126 feet underground.
Wow. Woo.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's in Ireland.
No, it's 40 minutes outside of London.
Oh, wow.
Because the ancient Ram Inn is that in Ireland or is that
It's in London. Gloucester. I
Gloucester.
don't know how it's pronounced.
It's like 90 miles.
It's in the middle of nowhere in London, but
Yeah, we're adults. We don't have kids. We make good money. Fuck it, let's go.
yeah?
And it was only the Ram Inn from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. was $500.
That ain't bad.
No, not for the
especially
history of that
considering the history and how popular it
It's
is.
1,000 years old, built over a 10,000-year-old pagan burial ground, and we get to go, and we're pretty stoked for it.
That's awesome.
So I know that you guys said that you guys have your trip planned this weekend. Do you guys have any other big plans set for 2025 yet, or anything that you guys are hoping to do?
We definitely want to get out to Kansas. We'll make that happen somehow in our schedule. We have a couple Paracons that we're guests at, so we have that on our schedule. I think our next one is the Hanover Tavern Paracon.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we'll be at that one. We'll be at the Rock Island Paracon in Illinois, and if you guys want to meet like Nesper and all that, I would come out to that one because I know they're
Cool.
going to be there. They're going to bring
When
the
is that?
items. What's that?
When is that?
October 4th?
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
look
I
into
mean,
that, yeah.
I don't know my schedule that far, but
Gives time to try to get it requested off.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm sure we could find someone to investigate around there too.
Yeah, it's October 4th. So
Okay.
we're going to be filming the actual Rock Island building the
Mhm.
night before the Paracon. They want
Yeah.
us to come in and get a video done. But then if you guys go,
Mhm.
we're trying to plan the old Joliet prison because that's in
okay.
the area.
Awesome.
So we could always
Okay.
do that. We could always do that.
Yeah.
count us in.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and a
We'll
lot
do
of
the same thing.
No, I was just saying that it would be a good expo for you guys to get out to. It's going to be it's a huge expo. Paraflix is out there. Like I said, Nesper, so they're going to bring their items and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be a good time. You should definitely come out.
Are you guys
We also-
planning on any of like MadCon, FCI Con, ISS Con?
So I think we're
ISS
on
Con will be
the
in London.
ISS cons in London.
Yep.
Oh,
We'll
you'll be
be
in
in
London.
London.
Okay. I'm like, what? I'm like Adam Kimmel making
The
moves, man.
con at my favorite place.
So we've never been to ISS. It's one of those locations. It's like we have to do it because it's the Indiana State Sanatorium, but we would have to almost fly out there
Yeah.
because it's just out of the driving range and all that kind of
How
stuff.
far of a drive is it? Like 12 hours?
For us to get to Fairfield, Nick, would that take us
Was it 7?
7
I
and a
think it
half? Yeah.
Yeah. And I
That's
think
12.
So then, like, yeah, it would be like 11 and a half or so. Because from Columbus, it's just shy of 4 hours.
Yeah. At that point, I'd rather just fly, be there in an hour or so.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, we're coming up on an hour, and we want to be respectful of your guys' time, and we really appreciate you guys coming on. I know that Ryan and Olivia had been talking back and forth with you, and we really appreciate you guys coming on. We're a smaller channel, so we really appreciate a bigger channel like you guys being able to come on, and it was great to get both of you on, because
Yeah.
I think originally it was just going to be Ryan, but Nick, we're super stoked that you guys were able to come on and chat with us for an hour. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're hopefully going to be able to get this episode turned out pretty quick, and looking forward to actually meeting you guys hopefully in the future, maybe a collab, or maybe we can be on y'all's podcast or something like that. Do you guys have any last final thoughts before we cut you loose?
We don't have like a podcast or anything.
Okay.
We're just a YouTube channel, and also we just got picked up by Paraflix, so we have like a TV show now and everything.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm in editing hell, but thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's no problem. Thanks for having us on and everything, and we'll definitely get a collab in. Like I said, you come out to Rock Island. Let's get to Joliet Prison.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well,
it was an honor.
Oh, go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
No, so it's an honor being with you guys. You guys are small, so are we. Try to help everybody out. Share stuff. When you guys put the episode out, reach out to us. We'll share it as well. We'll put your links down the bottom and everything, just to kind of put your names out there as well. And like Ryan,
Same goes too, especially for, I think we're all excited to see what you guys get for this upcoming trip.
throw away. We're excited for this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, especially our solo segment of this, because we're going to be in completely, like, it's 20 buildings, 37 acres. So, like, we're going to be nowhere near each other when we're separated. And at the moment, it's either Nick's going to be in the chapel or J Block, J Block's where they housed like their most violent prisoners and all that. Because I don't know, like, especially for anyone listening, like Crescent was a sanatorium, a mental health institution, and a prison. So it was like all three of the big like hauntings and all that. And then I'm thinking about putting myself in the end of life building, which was like hospice care.
Oh, yeah.
So
Good luck.
Crazy, man.
It'll be worth it.
got to put a video out.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again so much. We really appreciate it. And to our fans, the 47 of you that may or may not be listening to this, we appreciate you guys sticking around. Give Paranormal Theory a follow. All their information is going to be in the bottom. Give them some love, and stay tuned for the next episode of Shadow Sessions Paranormal. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.